I want to share with you my positive hospital birth story with Waylon. It was a planned unmedicated birth, and I did end up getting the epidural. So I just wanted to share with you how it still was a positive experience, why I decided to get the epidural, and what I'll be doing differently with this next birth to ensure that I get to experience an unmedicated birth this time. I'm about 38 and a few weeks pregnant, and I am looking forward to my next birth. So this is really fun to reminisce about my first birth. So with Waylon, it was really interesting because I'm thinking now, and as these days are coming to an end, like looking out for signs, am I going into labor, looking out for my mucus plug, blah, blah, blah. But with Waylon, it was really interesting because I did end up, the only sign I had that labor was coming was that my mucus plug did come. And other than that, I really had nothing to show. It literally started at 4 p.m. on Christmas Eve, and it was go time. Like, it came out of nowhere. The contractions came really fast, and it was just like, okay, we're doing this now. So the days leading up, I did have a lot of Braxton Hicks, but that was just normal. I mean, everybody has those. It wasn't, and I was always wondering, like, okay, well, what is the contractions going to feel like to let me know that this is actually labor? Well, it's weird because I can't, like, remember the difference. You already forget, but you do know the difference. So we were watching a Christmas movie and sitting on the couch, and I just, like, remember thinking, oh, that one felt like a little more intense. And then, like, 3 minutes later, another one came. And then I was like, Austin, just so you know, I think that these might be real contractions. So then his mom was sitting in the room with us too, and she started timing them. And she said, oh, they're pretty far apart. But I didn't tell her, oh, I've actually had multiple in between when I actually say I've had them. So we decided to call the hospital. And, you know, they ask you all the questions, like, how far apart are they? How intense are they? They said to come to the hospital at 6. Or basically, like, they would call me at 6 and see how I'm feeling. And then I would go in. But I was so nervous that at 5:30, we hopped in the car and left. And I remember saying, like, okay, I need to get through this contraction before we, like, get in the car. Because it already hurt. And I would just pull up on the bar and, like, try and, like, get the pain to go away. I remember that. But it really wasn't that bad. It was just like, oh, this is something happening. So we drove to the hospital. We stopped by Harris Teeter and got mangoes and all these fruits because they told me I'd be able to eat. And lo and behold, later they told me I wasn't allowed to eat, which isn't good because the only food I had was cookie cake and some Brunswick stew for lunch. I didn't eat any dinner or anything like that. So that's not good because I didn't have a lot of energy going into it. So going into the hospital, we were first checked into the triage room and they checked me. And I guess I was at a point where they weren't allowed to bring me into the official room yet. So they told me to just walk around the hospital. So we'd walk. And I remember I would, like, put my arm on the wall every time a contraction came and just, like, go like this and, like, breathe through it. And we just were laughing and having a good time. It wasn't, like, too serious. And then they checked me again. So around 8 o'clock, they sent us back to the official room. And I remember telling them that my pain level was just a 3 out of 10. This is where I think the hospital birth kind of this is the first thing that set me up to get the epidural when I didn't want it. They asked me as soon as I got there, hey, what's your pain management plan? Well, I didn't really have a good answer for that because I knew what they were thinking was, oh, I'm going to get the epidural. Or, like, I don't know what kind of answer they would, like, expect if you're just not having any pain management. So, I mean, there are natural things you can do, like get in water or use birth combs, but I don't think that they were looking for that kind of answer. So I remember saying to them, like, oh, I'm just going to wing it. I'm just going to roll with it. And, like, I just felt kind of stupid and, like, I don't know, that was my first instance of, like, me believing that they believed that I wasn't actually going to be able to do it. I will say, like, a lot of people that you tell that you're going to do a natural birth, they kind of doubt you and put seeds of doubt in your mind, like, oh, okay, we'll see how you do. And that was in my mind. I remember that, like, thinking, oh, maybe they're right. Maybe I can't do this. So I am changing my mindset this time, and I guess that it will come out through the story. I'll explain it more, but just know that you can do it, and your body is naturally made to do it. But if you do want the epidural, this is also a good example of how it happened. So I remember around midnight, it became a point where I was having a hard time. It was honestly like, when I got into the room from that 8 o'clock to midnight, it was just me and Austin, and the nurse would come in maybe, I don't know, you don't really know time at that point, but she would come in every now and then to check, but they had put monitors on my belly, so they were basically checking on me and baby through a computer they had, and then just checking in every now and then. And the nurse was really great. I didn't know what to expect from her or what to ask from her. I wish I would have asked her for more help, but she assumed that I didn't want help because I just wanted to be with my husband because I didn't ask for help. But just know that if you want help, like guidance, like, hey, what do I do to help me get through this pain naturally? Well, I learned later on she actually has some really great tips. So I wish I would have actually used her more. So that's something to think about. I did know that water would help. So I remember I went into the shower, and it was funny because the shower head was kind of like not working. And so Austin had to hold it, and he would get sprayed. And so for like, I don't know, maybe an hour, maybe more, I would just stand in the shower, and they have unlimited hot water in the hospital. That's a good perk. And he would just have to hold it. And I think he was getting sore, obviously. And he was like, are you good? You want to try some, like a different position? I was like, nope, I'm good. I'm fine how I am. So that was funny. But I really wanted to be in a bath fully submerged, which is another thing I had planned going in, but they said that I couldn't because the monitor couldn't get submerged. So that's another thing. Food and bath, I planned on using that, and I couldn't use it. So just really ask those questions and double check. I wish I would have just stayed in the shower longer. Honestly, if I just stayed in the shower until birth, I think that would have been fine. Like, it was very helpful, the hot water on your back. But I don't know why I felt like guilty being in there. Like, because every time the nurse came in, I'd hear Austin say, like, yep, she's still in here. And, like, he didn't mean it in a bad way, but I just felt like, oh, are they judging me for still being in the shower? Which is so silly. So just don't care about what other people think, and just use that shower. I don't know what would have happened, because I think they would have had me get out for pushing, but at least I could have had relief as long as I could. And then I just remember, like, when I did get out of the shower, it was actually, like, honestly the most romantic time in my whole marriage. I remember thinking I felt so taken care of and, like, just focused on, and basically I would just put my arms around Austin's neck and shoulders, and we would just sway, and like, Austin doesn't know what to do, so I don't know how we, like, knew that this position would help, but it really helped to put my weight on him. I remember, like, at one point I, like, turned to his hand, and I was about to bite his hand, and then I, like, thought, like, what am I doing? And so I turned back, and, like, after birth he said, did you know that you almost bit me? I was like, yeah, that was really weird. And he's like, you could have if you wanted to. So now I know that for the next one. I don't know. It's like instinct. That was so weird. And I remember both of our feet were hurting because we were just standing. And I had slippers on, and he had really comfy shoes on. So that's something to note, is that because I couldn't sit on the birth ball. I couldn't sit on the bed. That hurt way too much. But standing, and we just paced back and forth in the room, paced back and forth. And I remember around maybe like 2 o'clock, maybe 3 o'clock, I was like, Austin, I need to get the epidural. And I told him to tell me no, because I really didn't want to get it. And he said, no, actually think about all the girls you can help with their labors, and think about, Waylon, what's best for him. Like, you really don't want the epidural. And I was like, but it hurts so bad. And if it hurts this bad, my water hadn't broken yet. I heard that once your water breaks, it will hurt even worse. So I was like, if I'm having a hard time now, what's it going to be like when my water breaks? I was just very fearful. And when you're fearful, I've learned through prepping for this pregnancy, is or birth is that your body actually works against you, and your contractions are going to hurt more. And the way your brain's connected to your labor and the endorphins, how they're all supposed to connect and work really well for you, that's like conflicted because you're having this fear and fight or flight, and it's just not all working together. So if I would have just in that moment relaxed and knew like, okay, when my water breaks, it might hurt a little more, but I can still do it. And my body was made for this, and it's all going to work out, and I will be able to go through those contractions. Then actually these contractions would have hurt less, you know? And I was breathing well. I was doing like low moan breathing, which is good. You're not supposed to do high pitch because again, that would tighten everything up. But I was just very fearful. So the reason I wanted the epidural was completely out of fear. It wasn't that I really needed it in that moment. I was going through those contractions fine. I mean, it really hurt, but you can do it, you know, it's bearable. And I was having back labor, and there's things you can do to help with back labor that we didn't know about. So basically, Austin said, okay, well, why don't you wait till your contraction's over, you're not in the right mindset, and then you can decide. So it was about 3 contractions of me saying, I think I need it, I really need it, I'm getting the epidural, and then the break saying, okay, well, maybe I can do this. And then the contraction saying, no, I'm getting the epidural. And Austin said, okay, well, if you want the epidural, you have to call the nurse yourself. You know, you kind of have to wave the flag yourself, because he knew that maybe that would stop me from doing it. Well, it really was a big effect. And I did call the nurse and say, like, I started crying because I did feel defeated. And I asked for the epidural. And as soon as I asked for it, I did regret it. But I didn't know, like at that point I was like, okay, well, it is what it is. I asked for it, so I'm just gonna get it now. And I do remember praying to God, like, okay, now that I've asked for it, help me to please get it in time for pushing. Like, I just want to have it now, because they do have to come in. They have to give you an IV for an hour. Now that hour went by really fast, and you know what? I was actually fine during that hour with contractions, because the nurse came in and showed us how to do the hip squeeze. And I remember thinking again, like, oh shoot, I don't need an epidural. I just need this nurse to teach us what to do. Like, I just didn't know what to do. And so I really did want to go back on what I asked for, but I don't know why in my mind I felt like, well, I've already asked for it. I don't want to be a bother. Oh my gosh. So anyway, we went through with it, and I do remember, that the nurse got a little nervous about the doctor coming in. Like, okay, when he comes in, like, Austin, you might not be able to be staying near Ashley. Like, it was very, like, serious. Like, she was almost like, we have to do this perfectly. And, well, rightfully so. You don't want the husband to pass out if you're holding the wife and then, like, the epidural goes in wrong. He came in, and he did let Austin hold me, and this is actually a really positive experience with the epidural. It did not hurt that bad. So he had me sit on the bed facing Austin. He's like, do you pass out with blood or needles or whatever? I guess the needle's probably pretty big. I didn't look at it. That's a good recommendation, probably not to look at it. And first they get you with like a numbing thing that they say feels like a bee sting, but it felt not even as bad as a bee sting. And then I remember saying like, okay, wait, because you're a little afraid that you're going to get a contraction when they're putting in the needle, because then you might flinch and you can't move at all. So I remember saying like, well, wait, can you wait a second, because I'm about to get a contraction, so don't do it right now. And he said, oh, I've already done it. So I was like, oh, well, that was easy. I didn't feel it at all. So that's really nice. And I will say that the epidural was amazing. The rest of the night, I was just able to lay in bed. It felt like taken care of again, more like by, just like, basically they would flip you on your right side, then an hour later flip you on your left side, bring warm blankets on you. They brought me some which I could have had earlier, but like some frozen ices and things like that. And I was like, oh, this is actually really nice. So I do think that epidural isn't like a bad thing if you need it as a tool. I just don't think it's necessarily what you need the first, unless you want it. If you want a natural birth, I think that's the better experience. But it definitely allowed me to get rest, because then for the rest of the night, and it allowed Austin to get rest, we were able to sleep. I did wake up, obviously, quite a few times, and it was funny because now it's Christmas, because past midnight it was Christmas, and I guess on Hallmark they were playing the Christmas story over and over and over. And I remember waking up and seeing the Christmas story, going back to sleep, waking up, seeing the Christmas story again. And I was like, am I like just waking up every 2 minutes? But it was the same movie, so that was kind of funny. Now I had that epidural, so I expected no pain from here on out. Like pushing, I had a friend that told me pushing had no pain. She had to like kind of pretend to make some heavy breathing noises because it was easy peasy. Well, that was not the case for me, so just so you know. It was fine. I just want you to know it did hurt. Somewhere throughout the night, my water did break, and I remember feeling it was just like a warm gush of water. It's very interesting. And then they do throughout the night, they're coming in and taking a catheter, getting you, emptied out, flipping you, all those things. So they're just really now you're just a patient and they're just taking care of you and you're resting. And if you are at a point in your labor where you're exhausted, I think epidural might be the way to go, because you do need energy to do this, But I believe I could have done it without the epidural. I'm just saying that it was still a positive experience. Around 11 o'clock, we're sleeping as if it's still nighttime, I guess, because we, went to bed so late. So at 11 o'clock, I wake up Austin in a panic, and I'm like, I'm feeling cramping. It didn't hurt much, but like I'm supposed to be feeling nothing in my mind. So I'm like, the medicine's wearing off. We need to do something ASAP, because now that I have committed to medicated, please give me anything. Like, I just want this to be, I've already like waved the flag, just get me through it with no pain. But that's actually not how it works. So I felt some cramping, and we called the doctor to say, hey, she's feeling some cramping. She wants some more medicine. Like, I didn't know what else they could give you, but in my mind, that's what I wanted. But then it turned into, first of all, they didn't come right away. I guess they were helping people that were more needed help. And I'm like, where are they? And then they probably knew, she's probably getting ready to push. So it's not, I guess then why didn't they rush more? I guess, I don't know. So then maybe like 20 minutes later, I was like, Austin, I'm feeling like the urge to push. Like, I'm feeling a lot of pressure down there. So that was really interesting, like that you do feel that. Now, if I was going natural, then your body will push kind of instinctively, they say. But with that epidural, I did have them coach me through the pushing and things like that. So he called them again and said, she feels the urge to push. They came in and they checked me. I was 10 centimeters dilated or whatever you need to be. And it was go time. So then they brought in the doctor, another couple of nurses. They were all there. And I remember them saying, like, okay, lift your feet up on these pedestals or pull your legs back. And I remember thinking, like, I can't pull my legs back. I'm numb down there. And it was like, you had to really think about it to pull your legs back. So Austin's holding one leg back. I think another nurse is holding the other leg back. And they were like, okay, well, we can tell. Like, I didn't bring a birth plan. If I brought my birth plan, it would have said that I didn't want coached pushing, because I heard that it's better to just go with what your body's doing. But then again, I had that epidural, so I did need that. So I'm glad that I didn't bring my birth plan, because I needed the help. So they basically, whenever like a contraction would start, I remember they would say, like, I feel like they said, like, wait a little bit and then start pushing. And you're basically using your contraction while pushing. I did not push right. I held my breath and pushed. That's not what you're supposed to do. But it did work. So I pushed for about an hour. And I remember it was like an ab workout. And you know what? It was painful. Like, I was like right before pushing, I was like, should I get more medicine? Blah, blah, blah. And she's like, no, what you're feeling is just a lot of pressure. Like, you're going to feel that even with that epidural, and this is good. And I started crying because I was like, I thought I was going to do this with medicine now. And she said, are you just emotional right now, or are you in pain? And I was like, no, I'm just feeling emotional. And she's like, okay, well, let's like take a second. And I pulled myself together. And then I remember I wanted to push before they would say it was time to push, because it felt really relieving to try and just push. And it was like almost painful not to push. So the pain was good because it did, and it wasn't like, I guess maybe it was just a lot of pressure. That's what everyone says, but I felt like it was painful. Basically, after an hour of pushing, I started to feel, they were like, oh, the head's popping out. And they're like, do you want to feel? So I put my hand down and I could feel his head. And they're like, oh, good job. Like, you felt him on the first try. Usually it takes a little bit. And, you know, Austin actually did watch him be born, which he wasn't sure if he would feel comfortable with that. But in the moment, it's just your hormones, everyone's hormones are on high, and emotions. And it's just a beautiful thing. And I remember his head coming out a little bit more, and then it would go back in. And I said, like, oh no. And they said, no, that's okay. This is how it happens. That happens a few times. It's like, okay. So I remember pushing. And this time I didn't even ask, like, can I push? Is it time? Am I allowed to push? I just like went for it, which I couldn't stop myself. Like, I just had to push, which is interesting. I'm sure if I waited for the contraction, it would have been a little easier. And I'm sure if I had no epidural, I would have felt what they call as a ring of fire, and I would have let up a little bit, which maybe would have potentially caused me not to tear, but I didn't have that, so I didn't care. I'm getting this baby out. I want relief, so I pushed as hard as I could, and he came out full body. Sometimes they say it's head first, then body, but I remember the feeling. I just felt him like slip out onto the bed or into their arms. I don't know. And then he was born, and like, I guess I tore, but I didn't feel it, obviously, with the epidural. I tore like really bad, like as bad as you can tear. And you just don't care because you just want that baby out. But I'm gonna try not to do that this time. And then I guess they brought him up to my chest, and I remember he was crying for a while. But it was like, so like, he was there, and it was like, oh my gosh, like, I actually have a baby now. Like, he's real. Like, for some reason in pregnancy, you kind of are like, I guess there's a baby in there. But like, now Waylon was here, and he was like, I remember looking at Austin with love, and like, you just feel so much love for your husband, and you're like, we did it, and here he is. And you, even with the epidural, you still felt like that high. I feel like that happiness, because your hormones are just so high. So I can't imagine what it's going to be like without that epidural, because I hear that that's even like more amazing. And I don't remember how long it took, but eventually we passed him off. He was still crying this whole time. We passed him off to Austin, and that's actually when he settled for the first time. So that was sweet that he settled into Austin's arms for the first time. And I remember seeing a video of this, and he was like, because he hadn't nursed yet, and he was like kind of looking for Austin to nurse, and like, I guess he was hungry. And I was like, we didn't know to look for that, but now looking back, I was like, oh, he was hungry. So when he came back to me, he did latch on, and I was like, wow, he actually knows like instinctively what to do. And at some point before he went back to Austin, of course, because, you know, Austin cut the cord, all that kind of stuff. But I remember like the nurses were like, okay, everyone be quiet. Do you hear that music? That's for you. That's because your baby's born. You know, they play it throughout the whole hospital. So I was like, okay, yeah, I hear that. And then we had a baby, and it was just like, now people are coming in helping you nurse, and now they kept checking his temperature under his armpit. You know, they're checking you, they're helping you see how much blood you lost. I guess they push on your stomach and things like that. She did have to, of course, your placenta, you had to birth out your placenta, which is nothing, whatever. And then she did stitch me up. And I remember saying to her, like, is there anything you can give me? Because, like, I can feel that. And she's like, well, you have epidural, so you should be fine. And I was like, okay, because I do feel that. I'm sure it would have been much more painful, a needle going through you, if you didn't have the epidural, but like I definitely felt the pokes, and I was like, it's not comfortable. But it, I guess, was fine because it wasn't like I was dying. So then he's born, you're a parent now, and you're like, oh, what am I supposed to do? So I remember like we would just hold him, we were just enjoying life. They gave me dinner finally. I think afterwards they took my order for lunch, but I think it was past lunch and they forgot to give it to me. So I actually didn't eat again till dinner. So think about that. I went into labor at 4. I only ate lunch before that. So then basically from 1 p.m. till like 6 p.m. the next day, I didn't eat. That's not good. Make sure you're eating, before you go to the hospital. And if they allow you to, eat while you're there. But one thing I did do is drink a lot of electrolyte water. So I think that did help a lot. I remember like finally being able to take a shower because they don't let you right away because they don't want you to fall with the epidural. So I went to go take a shower and I thought, okay, what should I do with Waylon? So Boston was sleeping. So I put him in the bassinet and I was like, I guess I can just go. Like, I don't know how this works, parenting. So I did. I went into the bathroom, which is connected, whatever. I could still hear him. He was sleeping. Austin was sleeping. And then he actually did like choke on his spit, which isn't funny. But like, I'm sure he would have been fine. But Austin had to pick him up and like pat his back. And I was like, okay, lesson learned. So now I will never be leaving your sight. You will be going into the bathroom with me when I shower. And I held true to that. I would feel like nervous even going to take out the trash if he was sleeping in the bedroom. Like, I don't know if I'll do that with the second one. But I remember like first time parent, you're like, are they breathing? Let me check. Let me look at them for 3 breaths. Okay. And then they would just make sure that he was eating enough. So throughout that first night, she came in like the nurse came in like every 2 hours and would say like, okay, how much has he eaten in the last 2 hours? Or maybe even like every hour. Now I would write down like, okay, he nursed for 15 minutes on the left side, 15 minutes on the right side. And I remember I had to like stroke his little head to like wake him up to eat more. And he was very sleepy, like he didn't want to eat that much. So I had to stroke the back of his head and he'd wake up and eat more, and it was so nice. Aw, wow. And now I'm missing him. He's sleeping. We stayed for 3 days. They basically were like, you're good, but let's just keep him one more day to make sure he's good. And we were like, whatever, we're not in a rush, let's do it. And it was just perfect. We would just lay in bed, cuddling all day long. It was just great. We're able to give Waylon his first bath, which was super cute. They washed his little head. The nurses thought he was so cute that they even brought in their nurse friends to meet him. And it was funny because at one point, for some reason, the nurse had him under this heat lamp. I don't know why, maybe to change his diaper or something, or check vitals. She had to take off his diaper and he peed on the nurses. It was very funny. So it was just a good time. And I just remember like at some point, it just like the connection between me and Waylon just like clicked. And it was like, okay, now I am obsessed with you and I am in love with you. And I didn't know I needed you, and here you are, and you're perfect. And I still feel that way about him. It does not run out after the hormones level out. He's just the best, and you're just gonna love this baby so much. And I think that like now that I know how much I'm gonna love this next baby so much, it will help me go through labor, because like, oh, you're actually gonna meet a baby. Like that's actually the goal. That's the end of this. Like it's actually productive. So just know that if this is your first kid, like you will be obsessively in love with this baby. And like, I wish I knew how much I loved him before he was out of me, because I was like, oh my gosh, like it's just unimaginable. So I would say the hospital birth was a fine experience. I will be doing a home birth for my second one, and I will be doing natural for my second one. And this is why, and this is how I know I'm going to ensure the natural, if you're curious on doing that for yourself. So first of all, doing a home birth, there is no epidural option. So there you go. It's out of the table. And then I do think I didn't really do much prep work. So this time I'm watching the Built to Birth birth course, and it's a lot of information to digest. So honestly, like, I'm listening to all this, but I know I won't remember it all. It's like positioning. But what I am taking from it is the mindset. And it's like, you don't have to be fearful. This is something that people have done all of time, and it's natural and normal. And this is how it's supposed to be. Like, this is how God created you to give birth, and it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be good. And just like that knowledge that your body's all working together is what I'm getting at from this birth course. Another thing is watching more people do it naturally. Obviously, this video isn't helpful in that regards, but if you do want to have a positive all-natural birth story from me, just give me about like 3 more days, and then I can give you that one. The biggest reason that I'm not worried about wanting the epidural again this time, and the biggest shift, is having those home birth midwives. They are just so relaxed about this, and like, I'm talking about having my son there, and they're like, yeah, it'll be fine. He won't be like traumatized or fearful of his mom in pain or anything, because he's just gonna see you naturally going through this, and he's gonna see us just loving on you and taking care of you. So I know that even if I didn't finish my birth course, or I didn't watch the 100th video of natural positive birth story, these girls are here, and they're gonna tell me exactly what to do step by step. And like, all I have to do is surrender to it and pray and just enjoy it, and it's gonna be fine. Like, I don't have to know all the things. And I've also learned that your body will do what it needs to do. It does know what to do, just like breathing, you know. You're gonna do great. It's gonna be a good experience, and it might not be perfect. Like, I really had a hard time postpartum thinking about the fact that I did fail and get the epidural. Like, that made me cry a lot. It's not a failure. It's just a different way that you gave birth. And I'm happy with how it turned out, because I got Waylon, you know. Like, at the end of the day, you're just going to get your baby, and it doesn't really matter how you give birth. C-section, if you have to get a C-section, or I don't know the other options, but as long as that baby comes out, it's perfect. Go ahead and subscribe so that my next video will hopefully be a home birth video. And then my next video after that will be, you know, the breakdown of a sit down talk about it, because you can't really explain what's happening while it's happening. So that'll be really exciting. And it's just so fun, because I used to love watching these videos. So it's nice to be able to have these to show my kids one day and explain their birth story. What a special thing, your birth story. I wish I had a video of my birth, you know. So that is lovely. All right, bye-bye.